Welcome back. As we just heard, tax reform still in the works, but the August deadline set by Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is likely not going to happen. It is up in the air. Grover Norquist is the president of Americans for Tax Reform. He joins me right now. And Grover, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, Maria.
You know, when the president was going on about health care needing to be first, I pushed back and said, but people want tax reform, businesses in particular, because that's going to move the needle on economic growth. Do you still see tax reform happening in 2017?
I do, if those Republicans who undermined Trump and the Republicans in the House and Senate by not passing health care reform a couple weeks ago, if they come back to the table and understand that we're not going to solve all the world's problems in one blow, it's going to take many, many bites at the apple, and step one was to eliminate, and this is what they didn't vote for, this is what $1 trillion, $900 billion, $1 trillion of tax reduction. That was in the Obamacare tax repeal bill. It also granted an entire entitlement, Medicaid, something Republicans have wanted to do going back to the Gingrich years, as well as expanding HSAs. If you do that, you are $1 trillion closer, $1 trillion every decade, to where we want to be with tax reform. Right. And then you'd take the corporate rate to 20%, the subchapter S pass-through rate to 25%, go to full business expense, and go to a territorial tax system. Together, you have taken two giant leaps forward towards growth.
Okay.
By holding things up for 2 weeks, they may have killed reforming health care if they don't get back to the table. They could have permanently damaged, crippled tax reform. They could pass something, but you'd be $1 trillion short. This is not just a bunch of guys obsessing about they didn't get their way because they didn't pay attention to get their homework in on time.
I want to go through the battle with you and talk about some of these things that people are fighting over, like the deduction, the property deduction. I had one congressman tell me recently, Maria, I can't vote for anything if they eliminate the property deduction because my constituents are paying $25,000 a year in property taxes. There's also state income tax deduction. If those things stay in, there's going to be a big battle. There's also going to be a big battle around the border adjustment tax idea.
Sure.
So are we going to see the same kind of drawn-out fight that we saw for health care, do you think?
I think it's less so because, look, they've been working on this for months, years on health care, not 17 days. Anyone who wanted to participate was in on this a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 months ago. They showed up late to the party and all of a sudden wanted to edit everybody else's work. We're even further along than that on tax reform because this has been in play. If you haven't been at the table making the case, then you should be fired by your constituents. If you come up with some new idea next week that you can't live without, you should be fired because this has been vetted for some time.
Let me ask you this, Grover. I mean, at one point in my interview with the president, he said, look, if we just can't come to an agreement, I'll just do tax cuts. So do you think that there is a likelihood that in 2017 we just simply see a cut in corporate taxes, a cut in individual taxes, and not this overall tax reform package that includes the elimination of deductions, that includes the border tax? Is that a possibility, or do you really believe that we're going to see a tax reform package this year? And tell me what it will look like.
I believe we'll get a tax reform package this year. If, however, the Freedom Caucus sinks health care and sinks normal tax reform, we could end up with a very shrinked-down version of tax reform. That's the guys who torpedoed health care are threatening to torpedo tax reform because by delaying it, you heard the congressman say, other people are talking about carbon taxes. Well, where'd that come from? That came from the 2 weeks of delay.
You're right. All right, so lower corporate taxes. You think a border adjustment tax is in there? Real quick.
I think something that allows you to go to full territoriality, probably border adjustable, with a whole bunch of, with a longer phase-in than others might have had originally.
All right, we'll leave it there. Great to see you, Grover. Thanks very much.